What's up, Kosovo? This is Coach Q. I'm your host for the upcoming podcast called Never the Right Time. We are on every Tuesdays, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. 103.5, 105.5 Urban FM. We're going to be talking all things around health, fitness, lifestyle. Please check us out. Here's a quick shout out to our sponsors, 5-Star Fitness and Onze Recovery. 5-Star Fitness, goes without saying, we need to be active nowadays. It's a must. And to help with this, 5-Star Fitness, with locations across the country, has established itself as the place to pursue your fitness goals. Now, Onze Recovery, let's talk about stress from daily life, leaving us depleted, in need of that reboot. Onze Recovery offers different types of therapies to help you recover from the daily stresses, especially when we are limited with time. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super busy, mid-season as well. And like just to, I guess, set the context a little bit, like we've been working on and off for like 4 or 5 months now. We met earlier this year, and then we started kind of working together, kind of just building you up, helping you kind of prepare for this upcoming season. But like for those that might not be familiar with what you do, who you are, if you don't mind, just kind of to give a brief introduction, like what you do, where you do it, and then I think it'd be interesting to also kind of like go into a little bit of like, the different, I guess can you call it disciplines?
Yeah.
Like the different races, right? Like,
yeah.
Because I think when it comes to, skiing, like, people just think of it as skiing, right?
Yeah,
For the
just
most
like
part.
an activity.
Yeah.
Family activity.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if, just kind of like brief introduction, who you are, what you do.
Well, for everybody who doesn't know, I am Kosovo's first female Winter Olympian. My first Olympics was in Beijing 2022. It was also the first time Kosovo was represented with a female at the Winter Olympics. And I am an alpine skier, and I race mostly technical disciplines. A bit hard to understand, Google it. And then also sometimes speed. I've started now.
Well, like, yes, some people will Google it, but like if, for like, people have heard downhill, slalom, grand slalom, giant slalom, like if maybe you could just kind of give a brief description around those, because I think that would be pretty interesting, because again, like for most people, as you said, like, they just go down the slope, right? Maybe they go fast, maybe they don't, like, but that's it, right?
No, but for slalom is like, skis are shorter, speed is slower, and then you're hitting basically a singular gate, so it's just one thing. And then giant slalom is 2 gates with flag, higher speed, longer skis, and then speed. This is technical, so speed then comes with Super G, so it's super giant slalom, and then downhill. Super G is basically up to like 100 kilometers an hour, and very long skis. So for reference, I'm 165, and my Super G skis are 2 meters and 10 centimeters.
Wow.
And then downhill skis, the speed is quite high. It's like 120, and it goes like, my skis are 2 meters 12 centimeters. Again, for reference, I'm 165, and it's quite a weird feeling. Feels like you're strapped down to earth.
Yeah, so like when you are on season, like obviously you're carrying a ton of equipment, right? Yeah. So like I guess it depends on how many races maybe in one span that you are going to be like competing in, or even like when you go to camp, right? Like which disciplines you're going to be practicing, for example. But like, do you, like already, I'm just thinking, do you take all your skis with you?
I have, so basically what I have right now is 6 pairs, 2 slalom, 2 giant, 1 Super G, 1 downhill. And basically that's the reason we don't fly by plane. We never fly unless it's unreachable by car. we don't take the plane.
For fear that it might get damaged as well. Like,
Also damaged. Yeah, we had the thing is that when the airport crisis was in Europe, flights were getting delayed, the stuff was getting thrown. Like I still bubble wrap my skis always, and then put them in a ski bag, and then I always tell the guys like, take it. Like we had this one thing in Tirana when we landed, when I came back from Argentina, and the guy and he just threw one pair of skis on the track, and Drin, my colleague, he just puts his head in like on the other side where the guys are putting he's like, careful, like this is very expensive, like, because why would you throw it? Like, please take care of the equipment, because it's so expensive, and it's like that damage is unrepairable. You basically have to throw the whole ski in the garbage.
Like, I get then. Sorry, your skis, for example, right? Like depending on which pair, like how much would that be? Like a pair of skis.
One pair of skis.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. Those are like a different category, but it's around 800 to 1,200 for a pair.
Yeah, and that's
without
just
the binding.
Yeah.
And the binding is like another 250.
Okay. And then you have.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
So like,
okay.
No. So like this is sensitive information, because if anybody knows, like, and he does the math, a child with 6 pairs and a full bag with equipment that's like crazy expensive is like, you have to watch over your things. And in Europe, like in France, they steal your stuff. They steal, like, Drin, they stole his skis. Somebody just put his skis on and they left. Somebody stole my poles. It has happened to me 5 times. Pair of poles. Crazy. 150. It's like, oh my God.
I mean, that's just, thinking about the logistics alone, like, it's already tiring to be able to, like, carry that stuff, right? Like, from, whether it's airport to airport.
Oh, airport to airport is so bad, especially when you're alone.
Yeah.
Like Milan airport.
How do you do it?
I was in Bergamo. I was flying back home. I was flying to Tirana, and then my father would come pick me up. But I was there alone. And if anybody has been to Bergamo, it's filled with these people that steal stuff, and they just run around the airport.
Maybe it's not. Maybe we can't generalize.
Okay, no, sorry, not generalizing, but there's like some people that really like they're just looking at like stuff like this, and then see if like they leave it alone. Like other people leave their stuff alone.
I guess it was a bit of like an uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I could not leave my stuff out when I needed to go to the bathroom. So I always had to like find the most trustworthy looking people and ask them for 10 minutes of their time.
Yeah, because it's just, I mean, with all that equipment, you can't.
It's like you're stupid to not steal it if you see it alone.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's, it's not your average carry-on, let's say, right? So let's take a bit of a step back. Like, I've been also curious to, like, how you got into skiing. And then also kind of like being from Kosovo, right? Yeah. Like the skiing environment. Like I have the impression that at least when it comes to, skiing in general, or also like freestyle skiing, it's quite popular. But maybe if you could just kind of like...
brief.
Yeah, just like how you got, like, your first time being exposed to skiing, how you got into it, and then... At what point did you, like, or if there was, right, like a moment of, hey, this is what I want to do?
So basically, I started at the age of 4. I couldn't even ride a bike at the time that I was skiing.
Wow.
I learned how to ride a bike at 6.
Okay.
I think I was just bad at the bike thing.
I forget. I mean, but okay. So 3-4 years old, you're already on a pair of skis.
In Brezovica. And for everybody who skied in Brezovica is hard. It's like the worst place to send a beginner.
Oh, is it?
It's like you have the ski lift, but it's like 100 meters. Maybe, I don't know. I'm bad at distancing, but it's quite short.
Okay.
And then, like, there's no, like, middle ground. It's like, it's a ski lift, and then it's like this. And it's bumpy, and it's crazy.
I've been there. I've sat on one of these ski lifts when it was like off season.
Oh, yeah,
and I've gone hiking around in the area, but I haven't skied. So like I'm completely like
it's like mogul skiing in a normal slope.
okay. So it's like really bumpy.
Very bumpy. It's like you'll take flight up to 6 meters, up to 10.
Wait, that's a lot. Okay, but so it's like
Well,
it's
like
very
this-
hard for someone who's never
yeah,
done
it's
it,
like
right?
this.
Yeah. So that's where you started.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my dad was a skier.
Uh-huh.
He used to do skiing and then switch to snowboard, I think.
Okay.
And then back to skiing to teach us how to ski. And there's like some pictures of me in Brezovica.
So he was your first teacher?
Yeah.
Okay. And like, okay, so then you started skiing, and was that something like you
And then it
kind
was-
of really got into? Like you
No,
were
it
like,
was
hey, this is fun, or?
More of like a family kind of once, twice a year trip.
Uh-huh.
And then I started skiing in Bulgaria. Bulgaria was when I really took off. Like I
Okay.
was actually skiing for like at the age of 8, 9, 10.
Okay, so you're still only 8 or 9, right?
Yeah,
And
I was like, I had some freestyle skis. I was skiing backwards, front. I was like a mad child. Like I would not stop. That was my problem. Is I would just go down.
Bulgaria, was this also like a family holiday that you
Yeah,
went?
yeah.
Okay.
I was swimming at the time, so I was doing swimming at the time, and then by the age of 11, I think, 11,
Uh-huh.
I started skiing with a ski club,
Okay.
and then
And this is in Kosovo.
in Kosovo.
Okay. So you joined a ski team kind of,
Yeah.
and then I guess you were being coached by your dad, and then you also being coached by this team or learning at this team with this
Let's
team.
say I was with the team for the first year, so until I was 12, and then I left for a year because it was just too overwhelming for us, and like
Okay.
like my mom was expecting, I think, my younger brother, and we just left it, and then I was freestyling in Brezovica, not freestyle, free ride. Sorry, freestyle is like with the jumps. And stuff.
Okay, so like
Free
when you say,
ride.
oh, you took 1 year, you left that kind of school,
Yeah.
and then you were
I
you were
just
still
did-
skiing.
I just did weekends with my father because
Okay.
we have a house in Brezovica,
Okay.
and we stayed a lot, and then my baby brother was born, and then I started skiing again, and then I remember we went to Austria, like my dad drove us to Austria, the team was also there, we were doing a camp with an Austrian like camp organizing thing, and I did one while the other kids were doing 3. I did one glacier camp.
Okay, what's a glacier camp?
Okay, so a glacier basically is the only mountains that are like open for training in like October, November, September, August, like the whole year kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we could train there, whereas like actual like snow resorts, they don't open until December or whatever. They have a lot of snow.
Okay.
Now it's changed because before it was like November, it was filled
Yeah.
with snow, and now it's like December because of
Okay. So, and then like in terms of skiing on a glacier, for example, like just I'm going off a bit on a tangent, but like skiing on a glacier, how different is that to like a regular mountain?
Oh, it's crazy because a regular mountain, it doesn't go higher than, let's say, like 1,500 usually.
Okay.
It's like, and then a glacier, the one that I went to was my first time. The altitude was about 2,700, something like that.
So much higher up then.
Much higher up.
And it's
I didn't
it's
feel it.
ice versus snow is like
It's well, it's like you have different levels. So like you have the younger kids who are not still like skiing with the seniors, because for skiing is like once you turn 16 you go up into the senior category, and then it's like you ski with everybody. So then there's no more categories after 16.
so 16 you're
and
with
then you're with everybody.
everyone, okay.
Yeah. So then you have like the 21-year-olds coming in, and they destroy you because of the experience and everything, but
Well, they're
it's like-
also much bigger, much
Yeah,
stronger, mature,
and that's how
right?
it starts. That's how it starts for
Okay.
everybody.
Yeah.
And basically, so I was like 13, 14, my first time on a glacier, and I did that one camp, and then I came back, and then I crushed the races here, and then at 16 I joined the national team,
Okay.
and then I had a national team coach. Shout out to the guy, amazing guy. I did one work with him, and I progressed more than the 4 years that I did with a club.
Okay.
So it was more of like a coach thing, but I still continued with my dad, you know. Like we worked a lot. I had a lot of international coaches, but never really consistency in that. And now that's what I'm trying to build, like a consistent coach.
Well, I guess it's like also like in terms of, you know, who you're spending more time with, right?
Yeah, because like a coach cannot come into your life, see you for a week, and then tell you what you do, because you know, like we change all the time. It's never the same.
Yeah, and like it takes time to kind of develop that rapport or relationship. But so when you this first, just going back to the first glacier camp, was this already? Did you at this point were you already like, this is what I want to do?
At 30, when I came back to the ski club after that 1 year of break, my father asked me. I was 12, and he asked me, he's like, "Do you want to take this seriously or then just quit?" You know?
Yeah.
And I told him that I liked it and I wanted to take it seriously. And then this question followed up again before the glaciers camp started. And then again at 16 when I joined FIS. Because it's like, you know, you're sure at 14 that you're going to do this and you win Kosovo champion and blah, blah, blah and whatever. And then, and once you join FIS, it's like you climb 10 floors in one go.
Like in terms of the competition, the level, like
everything,
it just
everything.
Yeah.
It's like the equipment changes, everything becomes more expensive. Everything is a whole different story. Because that is like, no matter how much of a good skier you are, you're always gonna be at the end of the start list, because you simply, with the conditions that you're given, you're never gonna be able to like jump up to the good points in the beginning. So it's like step by step, time taking.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of like coming from being a Kosovo champ, like, so being the biggest fish in the pond to all of a sudden then one of the smaller fish in an ocean kind of thing, right?
Like you're like just like everybody else, you're trying to do the same thing.
Okay.
It's like, you know, these geniuses that go to like MIT and they think they're like very smart, and then they go there and like, but everybody's smart. Like we're all the same.
Well, possibly, yeah, okay.
It's like, it's that same feeling. It's like you thought you were smart and blessed your whole life, and then you get there and you're like, but like no matter how hard I work, everybody's doing the same hard work. No matter how smart, everybody's smart. It's like you get there at 16 and you see these 20-year-olds, Austrian girls who skied, like they've skied like professional alpine skiing since they were like 4. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, like I think that's probably also kind of an interesting...
It's like a slap to the face from reality.
Well, I think like, yeah, regardless, wherever you come, when you all of a sudden kind of join a different group or, you know, like an age bracket as you get older, then I mean, I think like, you know, the competition is endless, right? Like all of a sudden then you're also exposed to people from all kinds of places, right?
Yeah, you have like all of these different people. It's like you have the rich guys with the good equipment, with the good training, and then you have the medium average wage. We're talking about European average wage, not Kosovo average wage. Guys who maybe they don't have, like they have good equipment because they're good skiers, not because they're rich and they can afford it. And then it's like, it's crazy because everybody's like battling for the same spot position, and it's like one small thing can happen to you. It's like your skis get together or the gate is broken. It's stuff that you can't control really. Or like for a second, let's say the girl before you or the girls after you, like because we do 2 runs. Basically, I'll explain it very simply. 2 runs. First run, you get like the first 30 girls go into a bingo, and then they come out like different places. So the first is the list with the points.
Okay.
The first 30, they mix it up, and then the rest, they just come out like with the points. So basically, let's say you start 60, and you make it up into 40th position by chance and luck and hard work and whatever, and you're starting next race 40th, and then the first 30, so basically now, like with the times that they've done, the first girl starts last because they flip. And then you start basically 40th because you don't enter the flip. and let's say the first girls, they go down and it's like bad weather. It can be like foggy, and then at 45 the fog disappears and all the girls that come after you like destroy the timing because
you have
they
no
had
control over the natural
visibility.
elements, right?
Yeah, even the snow. And
So, like you mentioned a couple things there. So when it comes to like already FIS, so FIS stands for
Fédération Internationale de Ski. This is in French.
Exactly
I cannot pronounce it. You pronounce it.
Très bien. Okay, but then in terms of, so like people might be familiar with like the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
And that is like the top.
That's the top.
Right?
It's like higher than the Olympics kind of thing.
Yes. So then in terms of like how many levels does that go? So, and then also kind of like, so once you basically, you know, at certain ages, like, you know, this question of like, do you want to do this? You ask yourself and you're like, yes, and
like,
you keep doing it,
but
right?
you have to like get somewhere at a point to like continue to do it, because if you haven't done anything at a certain age, it's like, come on, you're burnt out.
Yeah, okay, that's something we'll definitely like kind of talk about as well. But like when you then hit 16, right? Then it's like, I guess before 16 you're with the junior, I guess, skiers, right?
Like U16, U14.
It's that age bracket, right?
Yeah.
And then 16 and until as old as you want, right? Kind of thing. So
as long as they're racing.
Then do you just like, can anyone just ski if they have the means to do it? Or is it already like you need to qualify to already join the circuit?
Sorry, I'm yawning because we had an early session today. It's Friday.
It wasn't that early, no.
No,
Like
it wasn't.
9:30.
Yeah, it was at 9:30. We usually have it at 8:30. And basically,
Bright and early.
So how it works is at 16 you enter. To enter, you have to be already registered as an alpine skier in your federation.
Okay.
Which then, to apply for a race, your federation has to send application forms.
Okay.
So basically how it works, we message the federation, we want to enter this race, and they send the application form. But really you have to be, like, to be able, for you, for us it's like, okay, like in Kosovo it's okay, you can enter, but like in Switzerland it's like if you don't progress, they will take away your skiing license and you just finish there. It's like done and dusted.
Oh, wow, okay.
So like you really have to show results at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then how it works is you start into FIS. FIS is a general category with no age like limits.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for example, let's say there's a FIS race in Italy where I'm training and the World Cup season is in a stop, or like some girls from the World Cup, they haven't qualified for that exact race and they're training there, they can enter the race and they absolutely destroy the race and the points and everything.
Okay. So then, what is that called, like the level underneath? Is there a name?
Yeah, so then you have national junior race and national junior championships. So these, I think national junior championships is the one that you're allowed to race until you're 20.
Okay.
So there's like more of a beginner friendly kind of category.
But still, like,
but still, it's like 16-year-olds with
people that are trying to go up, right? So.
And then from FIS.
Yeah.
At the FIS level, you can also race is CIT, so it is Citizen, and Citizen World Cups. These are also nothing crazy. It's like almost like closer to FIS categories. And then from FIS, when you reach a certain like points, you enter Europa Cup.
Okay.
So this is the European system. I don't know how the American system works, but the European system goes from like these categories up to Europa Cup, and then you have to win a bunch of Europa Cups to be able to start like okay, maybe you can start some World Cups, but like at that level it's like if you're not going to qualify for the second run, it's like why bother starting at all? So that's why you have to like really get used to Europa Cup, and then Europa Cup is all like the newcomers into the World Cup.
Because at each stage already, like FIS to Europa Cup to World Cup, like
you have to like really dominate the competition to get there.
It's like there are levels, right? Right. So okay. So then in terms of like sort of like you've progressed. So like now you've also like joined the national team and whatnot. So like, in terms of like how has like, so at this point you basically committed, right? You're all in. Like this is what you kind of want to do.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, at this point, it's not a hobby anymore. It's a job. It's a full-time, life-consuming job.
And like what's really impressive, like having come to know you and your father, it's like this was like, and then obviously your mother too, but like this has been a family affair, kind of like you guys have been kind of
crazy. It's like
trying to figure it out, right?
A family from Kosovo, which Kosovo isn't known for high wages, entering a sport that's
arguably one of the most expensive sports.
After Formula One is like one of the most expensive. It's like more expensive than, like people talk about tennis being expensive. No, not at all. Doesn't even come close.
I mean, yeah, you need snow.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, it's like tennis and all of these other sports is like you can control 90% of the variables, but in skiing is like completely naturally kind of thing. Is like you can't control the weather, you can't control the course damage until you go down. It's like crazy. It's like you have to work, you have to learn to adapt and work with what you have, and like.
So like I feel that from an early age, like also you were just kind of forced to like mature and grow kind of, right? Like because there's, as you said, there's so much out of your control, right? Like
like you have to learn. And also it's like it taught me so much about life in general. It's like I learned not to react and not to like get emotional about things that I can't control, or like it's crazy. It's like it matured me so fast at 16. At 17 I went to the Olympics. I was like completely alone. My coach was quarantined. I had to like by myself organize my training and everything, and like it was my first Olympics. I had no idea how anything worked, and I managed to like break through.
Let's dive into that a little bit. So like how do you go to the Olympics?
So basically
let's start with that. Like
this one I want to like really tell people, because they think that because Summer Olympics, how it works is they send you an invite. That's how you go. It's not that.
But you still need to you need certain times, right? Like for whatever discipline you are, like or scores,
points.
right?
Yeah, scores.
There is that, right?
But like,
because I'm still waiting for my invitation.
Everybody thinks that like we go just to like get represented. No, like Summer Olympics, yes, you get an invite, you go and you represent your country in the sport, just so that every country gets represented somehow, like until at a certain point, like. And the Summer Olympics, we only had the judokas and the guy that I think was wrestling that was qualified, and everybody else went with an invite. And for us, is like one of the main reasons why we never had female competitors there, and like actual Kosovo born and made athletes go to the Winter Olympics, is that you have to qualify, and like it's like you go into FIS, and my first year I was racing Balkan races. Okay. And the first, like, the year that I had to qualify was my first time racing European races. Okay. And like Balkan races, okay, it's more of like down here, like Croatia, Slovenia is quite like similar to Europe, but like down here is like, it's I don't want to say it's a joke, but it's not a real like European race.
Okay, what do you mean by that? Like the environment is different, like the courses are like different,
the number of athletes is different, the quality of because for us how points work is like you're given points based on the competition that you're racing.
Okay, right, against other skiers, basically. Okay.
So basically that's why the points matter, because if I enter with a racer that's skiing 20 points, then the points are going to be good. But if I enter with a skier that's racing 80 points and I have 86, there's no way that I'm going to make better points.
Okay, so one thing about the points...
It's complicated. Even I sometimes don't understand it. So it's like...
But in general, I guess, like, because I think a lot of people, like, when they... they might tune in on the Olympics, right? They see that because it's exciting. But, like, when it comes to, like, following skiing, the points, right? Generally, like... If you could call it a rule of thumb, the less points that someone has, they're usually ranked higher, right?
basically,
or is it like
yeah,
they've
it's
done
like, yeah.
better,
The
right?
less points, the better. So
Okay.
basically, that's how it works. And then for a race, is like you have, let's say, European class races. You have like 80 girls, and the best points are like 21, second best 22, third best 22 point something, and they're like ranked. And then it comes to an average of those points, and then also the time that both courses were
The
completed.
results. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess in terms of like going back to like, okay, you know, the Balkan races versus this European
Yeah.
race, like the course itself, the difficulty probably is different.
No, it's just
Or
that
not
the
necessarily?
level of competitors is not as hard as a Europe race.
Okay.
So
So,
like, yeah, you can win maybe a medal here somewhere, or
but actually in
but
terms of points and
yeah,
rankings,
no.
like overall, like for the season, it doesn't
it doesn't
count
really
as much.
Yeah. No.
Okay. All right. So then, like, I mean, okay, you racing in different areas. Like, so, for example, like how many? I guess it also comes down to how many disciplines you, because some people might just be a downhill specialist, for example, right?
Yeah, like you have
they just want to do that. Then, you know, you kind of do a little bit of everything.
of everything, yeah.
So,
Because I talked, Ivica Kostelic is like a big name. No? Yes.
well, no, explain. Yeah.
Okay, so he's basically Croatian skier,
Mm-hmm.
very famous. His father was broke. They were winning skis in competition, and his father was selling skis to send them to other competitions.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like sleeping in the mountain, in a glacier, like not in a hotel, like in a tent kind of situation. There's a documentary about it.
Okay.
It's crazy, and there's the brother and the sisters, so Janica and Ivica, and I had a camp with them, and and Ivica was explaining, and he was like, so these guys, Janica, I think she won like 6 Olympic gold medals.
Oh, okay. So she's
she's like high there,
like Hall of Famer,
really,
huh?
yeah, Hall of Fame is like
Okay.
the name in skiing is the Kostelic last name. And he was telling us that there's benefits from skiing downhill that you will see in slalom, for example, which is was mind blowing to me, because usually how it works now in the newer generation is like you specialize in downhill and you train downhill, you specialize in slalom and you train slalom, and it's like it's easier to get good at one thing, but then at a certain level it's like it stops the progress.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how he would explain it, is like by doing downhill you get better in slalom. And I was like, what?
Well, I can see like where there's probably a transfer like from the different disciplines to the other, right? But I mean, regardless, each one of them is like it's a world of milliseconds, right?
Yeah.
It's a millimeters in terms of the cuts, the turns, the
It's
speed,
a very,
the
very
times,
delicate
that kind of thing, right?
It's like
Okay, so then you like as you're progressing in your career, then so you're also exposed to different people, right? So different coaches, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then let's just go back to the road to Beijing. Like,
Okay.
so you had to qualify, right? Like you.
Yeah.
And so, what was that journey like in terms of like how many? What did you have to win? Times? What, like, how does that work? Clearly, this episode is not interesting enough for her, but it's all right. It's a long day.
It was a long day. And basically, so I'll sum it up. So you have 4 years to qualify. That's an Olympic cycle. It lasts 4 years.
Okay.
I managed to qualify in 10 days. Not 10 days. Like 2 weeks. Yeah.
So wait, sorry. Some people take 4 years.
4 years.
Right?
Like you have 4 years to qualify. Like you can...
So what happened? What happened in those 2 weeks, please? And then,
So
like,
basically
how
it's
would
like how-
someone normally do
Yeah.
this, right? Because this sounds like an exceptional kind of
This
circumstance,
was
right?
like a crazy kind of thing. Is when we would be telling people, it was like unbelievable. And so what it takes is like 105 results under 150 points.
Okay.
So for us, is the lesser the better. Like, we explained that, and then I started. Ooh, I'm hungry.
No, huh?
I started the season with 280 points, and that was my best result
Uh-huh.
at the time. And I trained a lot that summer
Okay.
with the national team. And I worked a lot. I spent like 3 months summer skiing in a glacier.
So, like, sorry, then, sorry to interrupt, but like, was this like this training and all this, like, you were like, I want to go to the Olympics?
So basically,
And that's why you kind of like, was there like a shift in mindset and approach kind of thing? Or like, how did the Olympics actually
so how
come
it
to
all
you?
come to happen was. Oh my goodness. Keep touching the microphone.
It's all right.
One, two.
Check,
So-
check. Yeah.
Basically, how we worked it out
Uh-huh.
was that we first season, end of season, I got the first international medal for women in skiing
Okay.
ever in the history. And
For
then,
Kosovo.
For Kosovo, yeah. And then when everybody was talking about, he's like, she has the Olympics and she can make it, and it was like nobody expected me to actually make it. It was more of like dream talk kind of thing, you know.
Okay.
And I don't know. I was never focusing on the Olympics. My thing was to always get better day by day, and the results would come. I had come to learn, especially in my first season, that if you focus on the results, it's never gonna come. But then just try to get better day by day, run by run, like kind of thing. And I was working a lot. And to be fair, my giant slalom was like not really my best discipline in my first like.
Did you start
season.
like all of them at the same time?
No, I
kinda?
started.
Or did you
skiing,
focus on
slalom and GS because that's all that we could train, basically.
due to the where you were,
Where
right?
we were
Okay.
and
So you
the
were forced.
budget.
Yeah.
So I was forced to like dive into technical disciplines,
Okay.
and whereas like other European kids had already skied
All of them.
children
Yeah.
speed races.
Because in hindsight, looking back, for example, and I know we're jumping around here a little bit, but like in hindsight, if you had to choose, what's your favorite? What would you have wanted to start with?
Well, now I tried downhill, so now I have like a big understanding of all of them. But I wish I had the chance to ski downhill as a kid. I really do.
Okay.
Because I really loved it. It was quite scary, but it was very nice. And I feel like if I started as a kid, I would have actually gotten like very good results in like the meantime. But like I started with slalom and giant slalom, the smaller technical disciplines,
Okay.
easy to train, not that much like effort and like budget taking.
And so then, okay,
More friendly,
Back
yeah.
to the
More
so,
Kosovo friendly, basically.
So back to then, you, what was it? Okay, you won this
Medal.
Medal.
And then everybody was talking about it. And then I was training in the glacier for 3 months. And then November comes around and we dive head into the one of the hardest races in Europe, which was in Switzerland.
Okay.
And I was like, let's say I was shocked. I was sick at the time. I was taking antibiotics. It was in Switzerland behind St. Moritz. There's
Okay.
this one glacier. And the Swiss champion now, Marco Odermatt, is from there. And I didn't know that. And it's like these guys, that race, they took a chainsaw and they cut the ice because it was not gripping.
Okay.
And they were making lines in
When
the
you say
ice.
gripping, for the average person, what does that mean?
So we have iron edges in our skis and we sharpen them so that when it comes to ice, you know how knife cuts ice? Basically, it's like you're gonna make it as sharp as a knife.
So you have literally
like
like a
quite
hold of
literally
the ice.
so much of a sharp edge that the where you touch it, you get a cut. So like I have cuts in my hands all the time from
Wow.
like testing out if my edges are
Sharp enough. Okay.
And then it's like I went there.
Yeah.
I've never skied that kind of ice, and I made it. I had like crazy. I had a breakthrough. I had like some of my best skiing in my life
Okay.
there, and I have some pictures. I could not recognize myself skiing. That's how like it was so good. And then, but unfortunately I did not finish the race
Okay.
because I could not keep my attention span. I could not keep my attention, and then somehow like I got into the zone. Like some people talk about the zone, but it's like crazy for a skier. How the zone works is like you're basically you're viewing what you're doing, but you're not in control. So you just let your body and your muscle memory go into like the state, and you just observe what's going on. Meanwhile,
So you
you're,
almost
like,
feel
going
like you're
down.
kind of dissociated
Yeah,
with
exactly.
yourself.
And it's like if you've done it long enough, your body will like ski at its best potential.
Wow, so it's almost like you're not
there, but you're there, you know?
okay. Now, in terms of like the different disciplines, right? So slalom, giant slalom, like for the person that's, you know, uneducated around skiing, like one race, right?
Yeah.
From top to bottom, let's say. How long is it? And basically it's just full speed, right?
So
Like-
yeah, basically a slalom race is like 45 up to like 55
Seconds.
seconds up to. There's some races that's like a 1 minute slalom.
Okay.
I've
so
done.
it's
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it
depends
might
on
feel
the-
like like long, I guess, when you're going down, but then it's over before you know it's
Yeah,
most
yeah.
of the
It's
time,
like
right?
honestly, it feels so long going down because you have to like you take a look at some like most turns, but when you're in the zone, it feels like a click of a finger kind of thing, and you're down. And
So that's the shortest,
yeah,
and then the longest would be
the longest would be like really like taking basically like looking at every single turn, overthinking, going down. You don't have time to overthink. It's just your brain is like.
in terms of the races, like what's the longest one? Like downhill or
Oh yeah,
giant slalom?
downhill is the longest one.
Oh, okay.
It's one run, and it can last up to 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay. Whereas giant slalom are 2 runs.
Giant slalom and slalom are 2 runs. Both one run of giant slalom can be from 1 minute to 120. The longest I've done is 120.
Okay.
130 actually, and then Super G is like one run again up to like from 1 minute 40 to.
And then in terms of like the race, for example, right? Like, and we'll get back to the Olympics because we're like,
We're like jumping around.
but this is good. This is good. Because for someone that's doing all disciplines, for example, right? Like on a weekend when the race happens or day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Does it like do you do all of them at the same time, like
No,
day,
no.
or how is that structured?
So basically, FIS, so the federation, the international federation, they put out a calendar, and then every country, for example, in Italy, every region puts their races on that calendar. And then when you're planning for the season, you basically look at the calendar, and then you like pick which races you want to go to, which races are good. So basically for an Italian coach, an Austrian coach, European coach, it's not going to be hard because they've been skiing around there and they know the races. But for us, it was quite hard, especially at the Olympics, because we didn't know which races were good for us and which races were bad for us. And like, you know, it's like really is like, if you don't know, it's like you're playing with it. It's like, it's crazy because like if you know where to go, you're going to get the results around there most of the time. But if you don't know where to go, you can like completely like mess it up by going to the wrong race, even though you were going to make those points in the other race for sure. So like that was our biggest challenge at the Olympics, was
Because you're not familiar with any of these, like,
any of these places.
Are like these races are always in the same location? Is it?
Usually,
or do they
yeah.
move a little bit?
Every season is like they're at the same places, and then let's say, for example, I was in Slovenia. I wasn't, but I was in Slovenia last year, and the race was good, so I'll go this year as well. So that's kind of like how it goes.
And what you're saying is like for these other European nations that like basically the races are in their backyard, they can practice in these.
there, yeah,
and so
exactly.
they know exactly like
where's
what the
the
snow,
bump.
ice, all that is like, where to turn, that kind of thing. And you coming from Kosovo, like on the let's say the week of the race, kind of that's the first time you test the slope, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like you should be much more like calculative with the races that you choose, because you should always
It's strategic, right?
yeah, strategic. You have to think that you should have time to train there and then somewhat like know the terrain and everything.
Okay. Then, in terms of like, so I guess going back to the Olympics, so like you had this breakthrough moment in Switzerland, right? And then like was it breakthrough in the sense that also kind of like, well, you got the points, right?
No, I didn't get the points. I
Okay,
didn't
no.
finish the race.
Oh yeah, you mentioned you didn't finish the race,
I
but
didn't
then
finish the race.
but
then I was like shocked by my ability to ski. But that was a slalom race, and I did not qualify for slalom. I qualified for giant slalom. Meanwhile, in giant slalom, I had 280 points,
which
I
was
like,
far from the target.
So far,
yeah,
far.
Right? Because you mentioned 100 something.
Yeah,
for the
150.
Yeah.
And for some people, it takes like 1 year, and they go down like 20 up to 30 points.
Okay.
I was at 280. I was supposed to fall 130 points.
So then
in
what
one
happened?
season.
Like this breakthrough moment
I don't know. I switched skis.
Okay.
And I'm not skiing with that brand anymore, so I'm not going to say the name. So
Ooh.
I switched skis.
Controversial.
And basically, I was skiing so good in those giant slalom skis. It was crazy. And then I started racing giant slalom. It was my first race in Italy. It was a horrible race. A Slovenian guy ended up being helicoptered out. The race was too dangerous, so yeah, we decided never to go there anymore. But then at the end of December, so it was December 29 and 30, I had 2 races. The weather was bad. I was in the Balkans, and it was like so tough. I don't know how I managed to score those points there, but I did it. And then moving up New Year's, and that's where it clicked that I actually have a chance to make it, But I did not want to get like excited or emotional about it, because in skiing is like some people, they ski good with emotions, some are more strategic, and they don't like
There's
to
a huge mental aspect to it, right?
It's like you find what works for you and you keep doing that.
Like, and also, I guess there's, you're only as good as your last race, right? Like,
actually, it's like how FIS works, because you can never like perform at every race. So it's like they get your 2 best results from the whole season in that discipline, and they give you those average points that you start races with.
In a season, for example, like, and in previous, getting to know you and talking with your father as well, like, there's been certain seasons you've had a lot of races, right? And like, so in terms of
that's not good as well.
Sure, and that's also the strategic thing. But like in a season, how many races total are there?
Oh,
not that you would do it, but like
a whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, too many.
Okay, and then like, for example, like
also like you cannot even count them. That's how many. Because there's like different continental races. Like there's some races in the U.S.
Exactly, right. So southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere.
Yeah,
so
some even like east.
So, not that
West.
someone would be. I mean, maybe someone does, but not that you would. But technically, you could probably. The season is all year round. Is it almost?
Basically, it starts in November, and it ends in January, February, March, April. End of April.
That's northern hemisphere.
No, like still in Europe.
That's in Europe, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
and then
northern, sorry.
And then if you were to.
And then like I did this year, I went to Argentina, and in the southern.
Yeah, you got it.
Southern hemisphere. Now it was winter there, so then they have the SAC, which is the South American Cup races there. And those are also a very good head start to the season. But like back then, like we had no idea.
Okay. Okay, then finally we're gonna reel this in. In terms of like so you had a number of races where the results were starting to come in, and then
2 races before New Year's.
And was that the 2 races that clinched your qualification?
No.
For the Olympics?
I needed 3 more results.
Okay.
So then January 4th comes, and I like say to my dad, let's go. Like we still have a shot, because we had until January 15.
So there was a cutoff date as well.
Yeah, a cutoff date. So I had 9 days, basically, and we were planning to go to Slovenia. And I remember some Balkan coaches friendly were also chasing that Olympic quota.
Yeah.
And basically I said to my dad, let's take the national, like one of the girls who was also skiing with me at the time, and I'm so happy we took her. She was like a cheer, like she was so cheery all the time.
Okay,
and she was
upbeat,
keeping
positive,
us,
yeah?
positive. She was keeping us in a good mood, and basically she was there. And I told my we were together racing, and it was so much nicer being there with her as well, because my dad was in an edge of his seat kind of thing, and I was not like really, like I was not thinking about the Olympics at all. I went there just to ski good and have fun. And so first races was supposed to be in Slovenia. We get the girl, she lives in Peja, and we leave. No, actually we stopped to eat cebaba in Peja. And I remember the races got cancelled in Slovenia because of the snow.
Okay.
And then there was this one race in this deserted village in Austria-Italy border, and there wasn't even like the nearest supermarket to like the village was 20 kilometers away.
Okay, so
it's like completely remote,
yeah,
like crazy. And they were like eating. They were not even eating like cow meat there. They were eating like mountain animal meat. That's how remote it was.
Well, maybe there's game meat. That's fine. Okay.
They had like deer meat.
Okay, venison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
It's good.
deer meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I tried it there, but
Okay.
it was like weird. Rabbit meat.
Okay.
Just like mountain animal meat.
Okay. So something
Like coming from Kosovo, where you eat red meat, good red meat.
it was something different.
Different, yeah.
Okay, so then these races,
Then
like,
they were like 7, 8, and they got postponed for 8 and 9.
okay.
Oh, wait, let me think. 8, 9, 9, and 10, 11, 11, 12, 13, 14.
So there could have been a chance, like, if these got postponed too much, you couldn't qualify.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, there was also that.
Yeah, and
huh?
it was like raining, and we couldn't do training on the slope.
Yeah.
And first race, I go in, I crash,
Ooh.
I hurt my knee, and then I go down, and my dad was like, he thought that it was finished. And I was like, okay, I'll enter next race. And I enter, I get the third result, so then we need 2 more. And then there was this one coach, I met her there. She's from the Kronplatt ski team. I'm skiing with them now.
Okay.
And it's like, we've come along so far. And like, I remember, and it was like crazy. We met there, and she was like, come to Kronplatz. I had already skied one GS race there, and I go.
So you get invited to this team.
No, they told me to come to those races.
Okay.
Because there was also another girl from that team that was chasing the Olympic quota.
Okay.
And it was like, okay, she said, come to these races because they're going to be good for points. And basically, we ended up trusting her because we had plans of going to Czech Republic. And so races were 14, 15, no, sorry. Races were 13, 14 giant slalom and then 11, 12 slalom. And it was the 10th. We had training with the American D team. So not really, but still the American D team is like a big thing because they have a lot of ski racers in America.
I'm assuming A team is like the top.
The World Cup team, yeah.
Okay, and then there's B, C, and then you were training with the D team.
Yeah, so C and D are Europa Cup teams,
Okay.
basically. And so it was the girls' team, and it was very nice. We were training that day, and I remember I crashed, and I like had a concussion, like a pretty bad one. Like I remember I was completely discombobulated on the slope. I had skis everywhere, gloves. I think even my helmet, like my goggles came off at some, and then the coach, and I'm like laying like this on the ground, and the coach come, that same coach that told us to come there, and she's like talking to me. She's like here above my head, and I have like a black dot like in the middle of my vision, and she's talking to me. I can hear her. It sounds like she's like 20 meters far from me, but I can't move.
Wow.
And then she stays there with me, and I'm like dead ass laying on the ground, like not being able to move.
Yeah.
And the coach and they're all like, the guys are coming down because the guys are still training. Like, they don't know that this happened.
Yeah.
And basically they come there and they're like picking up my stuff, and I go down and I tell my dad, And then I go up to the lodge, and I had like a swollen ankle on like my left side, and I had hit my back pretty hard and my head, and I ended up not skiing the slalom, but I took a tour with my dad to Cortina, and Cortina is like one of the most beautiful places.
Okay.
Like it's like a bucket list kind of thing.
Okay.
And we ended up taking a trip there and like traveling those 2 days and just eating pizza and a lot of carbs. So nice.
Okay, so because like, okay, you had this quite traumatic crash, right?
So bad. And then I ended up hitting my head again, like in the house. Like
while you were just like kind of like
yeah,
just taking a little bit of time to recover from this incident, yeah?
Yeah, the crash was very bad. Like I felt like throwing up and I slept a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you were completely out of it,
completely out of it. Completely out of it. It was like a very big concussion. I remember after that crash, I was also starting to forget things. And then I ended up entering the race on the 13, 14, and then at 15, 12, past like 12 that afternoon, it was closed. And I ended up like winning those, like getting the points on those 2 races. And I ended up going to China.
And like you had just
suffered,
right after this
just
crash, right?
After the okay. Like 2 days after the concussion. I was not even supposed to be racing.
But you basically wanted to.
Yeah, of course.
No, of course. Like it wasn't going to stop you.
No, not at all. Like I've had, like now in Chile, I tried, like you even know, I tried downhill, I crashed first run in the jump test. I completely like ate shit. Sorry for the language. I ate plastic of the nets, and I hit my head quite hard. And also in Bosnia, I crashed like quite hard. Like that crash was really bad in Bosnia. I ended up like sleeping 5 hours. I don't really remember how I got to the hotel room, but I remember like I got up from the sleep, and I immediately stand up and I fall front. So I had lost like a bit of my balancing point. Yeah. And I ended up racing the next day.
I mean, for those that aren't aware, like when you crash, right? Like how fast are you going?
Like the first crash, the one before the Olympic races, I think I was going around like 60. And then Bosnia was like definitely a 70, 75. And then the downhill one, that one was like 105, 110.
And like, sort of like that moment, right? Like, is there a moment where you're like, oh shit?
It's like, yeah. Because you hit, like, you just, like, you start crashing and you're like shit. Like, I'm gone. Like, okay. And you
sorry,
always,
it's not funny,
like,
but we're kind of swearing, so
yeah. Sorry for the language again.
Yeah.
You always expect, like, from a crash, you always expect an ACL or an MCL tear. It's like you're so lucky if you walk away with a concussion.
I mean, that's serious too, right? But yeah, I guess is it in terms of when you say like usually there is going to be severe consequences? Is it because like when skiers fall, like the ski gets stuck kind of thing, or like
it's also because because the skis, they have a safety mechanism where if you hit something or
they pop off,
they pop off.
Okay,
that's the good thing. But the bad thing is like
you are tumbling at such a crazy speed.
Sometimes I put the bindings higher because the speed gets higher and the pressure gets higher and the binding works on the pressure. So basically I have my bindings, my GS bindings at 160 kilos. I weigh 65 kilos.
So it stays with you, basically. It
stays with me.
Okay.
And like, it's crazy. Sometimes like it doesn't come off, and when it doesn't come off, it's for sure your leg is gone. But even if it does come off, it's like that momentum. Because you know, like you're pulling up to like 2G, up to like 3. Not 3 is a bit. 3 is like downhill. 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 is like downhill, super G. But like in a GS is like you're still pulling up to like 3G, and it's like a 3G momentum.
Yeah, on these turns on and knee, whatnot, right? Yeah.
It's like not even a mechanical knee could handle that.
I think, and I really wish maybe in the subsequent episodes or like as this show evolves, like we'll have someone to fact check. But I think I read somewhere where astronauts when they're launching into space, it's like 3Gs. Yeah. So you are experiencing that. Oh yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
My phone is charging.
Okay, but I'll definitely check that out. Maybe someone. Yeah, but okay. So then you qualify for the Olympics. It's in Beijing, right? Yeah. And this is during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned briefly, like you basically go by yourself.
How does that work? The national team coach. I had already trained with him before, and we were like very close. Like he knew he was training with me for like 2 years. So he was like, after my dad, he was like my longest coach, like the longest time I've had with one coach.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all right.
And basically, it's like, he tested out positive at the Olympic Village.
So he had to get quarantined, right? He had to get
quarantined. I was a close contact. I couldn't join the ceremony, like the opening ceremony. It was so sad.
I mean, that's already like a surreal kind of...
Yeah, like they locked me up for 7 days. I tested negative for 7 days, and they wouldn't let me go out. And like for reference, what I did, because now it's gone and they can't do anything to me, I left the accreditation badge in the room and I would go and eat. Because they would like not bring me food. Like the food would always be late or cold or like, it was like so bad that like first 4 days. And then honestly, it was like crazy. It was so nice after the quarantine. I was like eating, like if I was like, my race, the Giant Slalom race was the first race, and I had to go to the race office. I had to organize training for myself. Thank God the team, the coach that I mentioned now, that I met in those races, she was there with their team of their qualified athletes.
Okay, and she was helping you out?
She was helping me out.
Because you were just by yourself, right?
I was like by myself. We had no equipment, no gates, nothing for training. And they were there. And also the Bulgarian team, my best friend from the Bulgarian team, she also helped me out a lot.
Okay.
So I had friends. That was a good thing. And then after my race, it was like amazing because my race was done. Everything was like into place and I could just enjoy the Olympic experience. And I was like eating at 2 a.m.
And how was that? What was that like?
Like we had tunnels. We were using tunnels because it was so cold to like walk around at night.
Okay.
Even in the day, in the morning, it was very cold. And
I mean, it must have been also like a crazy experience because like the Olympics, you're racing also against World Cup skiers, right?
Yeah, it was like being there with them.
Like someone...
Eating with them, training with like them next to me. It was like crazy. It's like I've never experienced that before.
Was there anyone that you were kind of like, that you looked up to?
Laura Gut Berami, married to an Albanian footballer.
Okay.
She
was there as well, right?
She was there, yeah. And I remember I was always looking up to her. And I remember I saw her eating.
Okay.
And I felt so bad, but I had to go and ask for a picture. I still have the picture with her. It's in my profile.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God, I met her.
Yeah.
And she's like the skier, like Lindsey Vonn. It's Lindsey Vonn, these like women legends. It's like Lindsey Vonn, is Michaela Schifrin, Laura Gut, and
you got to meet some of these, right? Like,
yeah, and I got to meet.
And you actually competed against them, right?
Yeah, I couldn't meet Michaela because she was going through a tough time.
Okay.
Lindsay had finished skiing quite early, before my Olympics.
Okay.
I think her last Olympics was Vancouver, 2014.
Okay.
No. Sochi.
Okay, yeah, Sochi. Right.
Vancouver was 2010. No, 8. I don't know.
All right. We can fact check that or Google it later.
Yeah.
But okay. Okay. Do we need to cut it?
We can wrap it up.
Okay. Well, let's there was a couple other things that I wanted to kind of talk to you about, but one of the things is like, okay, in terms of like, so you experienced the Olympics, and that was a huge milestone, right?
Yeah.
And we've been working together, and like one of your goals is like the next Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Now,
for sure. Also, is like one of my goals for the next Olympics is like being able to ski a speed discipline as well.
Yeah,
like
so you're expanding your kind
that.
of, especially the
reach.
downhill, right?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, especially like because like what is your like motivation or your drive? Like clearly, like you have, you're developing and have the discipline to keep going. But like, what gets you excited? Like,
honestly, with skiing, is like you really have to love the sport because you're out there in the rain, in the sun.
It's cold all the
in
time,
the wind.
right?
It's cold. I hate the cold, but I still do it, you know. And like, it's like you really have to love the experience. I've had friends that have tried skiing and they tell me that is one of the best feelings that they have like experienced in a sport. And it's like it's so much adrenaline, so much thrill, the speed, the fun. It's like it's like, I actually read a study about extreme sport athletes and their like relations to risk-taking behavior because they're used to the adrenaline that they get in their sport, and then when they finish and they're doing a normal life, that gives you basically like very low adrenaline levels unless you really do something else to make that high. It's crazy because you get so much adrenaline, thrill, speed, and it never ends. It's an everyday thing. You get it every day. And that's also one of the things that keeps you hooked to the experience.
Do you feel that like when you sort of, because again, your off season is a little bit not your off, there's no real off season, right? Because like the work that we've been doing together, for example, is like technically off season, but like you're preparing yourself for the preseason, or
basically it's like there's no days off, there's no break. And if you take a break, you're losing valuable time because the more time you spend off skis, it's so bad for you. So you have to like keep it going.
But do you find that like during this time, for example, like is there an adjustment for you for normal life because of like, during the season, it's like go, like the adrenaline.
There's no normal life in the season.
Yeah. So is that like kind of sometimes, not that I would say like every day is kind of like boring or something like that, but do you feel that like it takes getting used to again?
With like it's quite hard like being able to adapt here and there and everywhere. But like when I'm here, I try to not like stress myself a lot. I'm also doing university as well, so like that's like one of the main things that I try to focus on. It keeps like my day going. And then
so do you take like a bit of comfort in actually what is perceived as like the normal things?
Yeah. It's like it's nice being here and not really like there in the cold. Sometimes, we all need a break. And it's nice, I also like to spend time with my friends, with my family, and it's more of like a refreshing kind of thing. Like I come here and I get a refreshing feeling, and then I go out there and then I do what I have to do, and then I come back, and then it's more of like a break kind of thing.
Yeah, and then I guess like because the season is so long, there is that kind of, how do you say it? Like
monotony?
No, it was more like, well, but there might be that too, but I think like because you just experienced, let's say, already a phase, technically pre-season in Argentina, and then you have these different camps, but like you probably have like one of the challenges is like not peaking too early, right? That kind of balance of like you need to be race ready whenever kind of thing, right?
Yeah, like you cannot peak in January and then fall at the end because the end is where the best points are. But you also have to like maintain like a steady like kind of like an upward going thing.
And that's probably been like just a huge learning curve, right? Like
it's like crazy because you come from here and you're like, here it's easy to be the best, But then once you go out there, that's the real challenge. It's like what I keep telling to all my athlete friends that play in Kosovo, like, yeah, Kosovo, breakthrough here is not that hard. Really, trust me. But then once you get out there and you start playing with the big guys and you see that they have 10 times the more
like resources,
yeah, and know-how than you is like, you know, it's crazy. And you have to learn, like you have to make friends, you have to try to get as much more information as you can or surrounding everything. So it's quite hard. Once you go out there, it's crazy.
So then moving forward, kind of like in terms of like already this season and sort of like, you know, the build up to the next Olympics, sort of what are your aspirations? What are your targets? Like, I know we've talked about this a little bit, but like in terms of just, you know, because like, you know, Olympics is kind of a long-term thing, right? So
yeah, Olympics is like something that you work and you build up to, and it's like not like this. Like it happened for us.
Yeah.
For me, it was like my hard work, and also the stars somehow aligned. So it was just, I don't know how, but it managed to happen. But in the next Olympics, I'm trying to like be as prepared, as race ready, as high in level in competition level as I can. Like these guys, these World Cup athletes, there is like the top of the top, like the cherry on the cake, kind of thing. And to race with them is like an honor, really, because it's crazy. It's like they're there, you're there, and then you realize how like it's not that hard. You just have to work so much. But it's like you see them and suddenly everything becomes possible. And then my aspirations for the next Olympics would be like up to the next Olympics would be definitely halving my points that I have right now and like gaining a lot of experience in speed. And then for the Olympics would be skiing at least one of the speed disciplines, whether that be Super G or downhill, just something, because now, like last Olympics was giant slalom. I haven't skied slalom at the last Olympics.
Okay.
So slalom will also be...
Because you need to qualify for that too, separately, right? So.
And I didn't have the time to...
I mean, it was almost like a miracle that you qualified for
the giant slalom. Yeah.
Okay.
And then basically, halving my points, good results, and then we also have the Junior World Championships, the World Championships leading up to the Olympics. So there's quite some other big events coming up.
Okay.
But the Olympics, yeah, for sure. Maybe Europa Cup even. I think it can happen.
So, and then in terms of like this season, I guess slowly try to wrap things up, the next races are going to be coming up in, did you say?
Honestly, I'm still planning that out because I was in Argentina, as I said before. I managed to get some very good points, start downhill skiing, and then I really don't need to like hurry up. I want to get like really prepared. Okay. Maybe start racing end of December, beginning of January. And then now my next stop is Finland. I'm going there for 3 weeks in Levi. The World Cup is there in 8 days, actually. Can you believe that?
Oh, wow. Okay. So
like the World Cup race is there and we're there. Maybe we're going to watch the race. I don't know. But the training is going to be amazing. The course is going to be injected. By injected, I mean they get like a water pipe. To create and they have these like little dividers that the water comes from. And they shove it into the snow and it pumps the snow with water. And then overnight it freezes and it's basically frozen water.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay. And for someone to kind of like, you know, if they wanted to follow the races, where can they see the races? So
basically FIS, the International Federation, they have an app.
Yeah.
They have the calendar, they have the live races, they have the world rankings, they have the point system, everything is there. And it's FIS and App Store.
Okay.
It's there. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Well, Kiana, thanks so much for this.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for waiting me. I'm sorry for being late again.
No, it's all right.
I was getting my nails done. Well,
she's got her nails done. She's getting ready to go to Finland. obviously we'll be in touch. But yeah, I think like, you know, it's super exciting that this season has already been kind of like a revelation, right? Like
Yeah.
things are off to a great start.
Yeah.
So I hope you continue with that success. And yeah, we'll be following your
Yeah.
your season.
I'll be coming back in 3 weeks.
All right. Well, excellent. So thanks for tuning in, guys. That was an episode with Kiana, alpine skier for It's Never the Right Time. Thank you for tuning into Urban FM 103.5, 105.5 FM. See ya.